What is up, everybody? This is O-Artistry here, and welcome back to the channel. Now we're going to do something a little different, because basically my YouTube feed is literally just full of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is expensive, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, like, you know, costing so much money, the whole bonfire situation. There was one from, I think, was it Mega Capital G, about a Yu-Gi tuber leaving, and stuff, because of how expensive the TCG is, and I just wanted to throw my, I suppose, my own hat into the mix, my own thoughts into it, because basically I feel like everyone's complaining about it, and you know, obviously Yu-Gi-Oh! Prices are expensive, but here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has always been expensive. Like, the more you know. Literally, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has, from its beginning, always been expensive. And, you know, obviously most people know that. And I can understand why people complain. I get it, because let's say you're a new player and you wanted, or a returning player, and you wanted to get into the game, and you're like, okay, I want to go to my locals and I want to see kind of like what I want to play and what what's currently in the meta, or what are people using, and then they see the card prices of, you know, maybe just like, I don't know, let's say Bonfire, which you would need 3 of, right? And you look at it and you go, okay, it's £100 for each one, and yeah, you wouldn't want to run triple Bonfire, because that would be 300 on a single, you know, just the 3 cards, 300 quid, you know. When you put into perspective that kind of money and the money equivalents, I can understand why people are like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is too expensive, and I get that. You know, I totally understand. It's why I don't bother, you know, like, if I can afford a lower rarity, I will go for a lower rarity. Like, I'm not someone who goes and buys the most expensive, highest rarities, because to me, like, the card's the card. Like, I get, like, for some people who love collecting, yes, they're gonna absolutely want to buy those, you know, higher rarities, because for them, they're a collector, or, you know, they want to show off, like, hey, look, I've got this secret rare, or quarter century, like, ooh, you know, super sparkly, shiny cards, you know, that's what people like to do, and that's fine, that's, you know, if that's what people want to do, that's what people want to do. Now, there are 2 sides to this, I've always felt. Let's look at the Konami side first. So Yu-Gi-Oh! From a product perspective has always been expensive. So let's unpack that. Ever since the first boxes, you were never guaranteed holo. If you pulled one, like, good job, you got a rare card. Like, you know, and that's awesome. And, you know, people used to weigh packs to go, oh, that's got the holo in it. And they would take the holo packs out. People knew what they were kind of doing, you know, when you were buying boxes and stuff, you know, but, you know, that used to be an actual problem. So Yu-Gi-Oh's always had that issue, you know, but the holos used to be the kind of cards that were the staples, the stuff you would want to buy. The biggest example, of when things started to change, however, from the staples to more the archetypes, or even the, you know, as we like to call it, you know, our, you know, money making, the waifu cards, because yeah, that's also a thing. Magician's Force. Basically, Mirror Force was the staple card, but it was not the most expensive card. That belonged to Dark Magician Wheel. Why? Because Konami knew people would want that more, so obviously it was going to cost more money. It's a practice they've done since the dawn of time. They've done it, like, literally since it began, like, you know, and literally from, like, GX era, that's when they started, when archetypes were introduced, they started making the change then to, oh, we'll make our holos the cards that people are really gonna want in their decks. So, like, you know, But interestingly enough, even back then, at least they did something which was multiple rarities. For example, Elemental Hero Flame Wingman, right? You could get in a super rare, you could get in an ultra rare. I know you can get it as an ultimate rare. I own one, but I also own the super. So, you know, I managed to pull the two. That's the thing. Like, a lot of the cards back in the day used to have different rarities. Like, I've got, you know, even in 5Ds with the Red Dragon Archfiend Assault mode, my first copy was an ultra rare that I randomly pulled. It was the one card I always wanted because it was the front card, and literally, randomly in a 10, I pulled the Ghost Ray, and I was like, oh my goodness, you know. But there always been the chase cards. The higher the rarities, the more people would spend money. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Whales, you know, would want to buy those expensive cards. That's the thing. Like, and then obviously, I can't remember which set exactly it was, but we're talking roughly maybe past, maybe Zexal or maybe the Arc 5 kind of era of packs. That's when they made the change of you're always guaranteed a holo. I can't remember at what point it necessarily was, but they literally made it that you were always guaranteed a holo. But they then made it that the short print cards were the holos, and they've always had short prints. There's always a short print has always existed in packs like Fortress Whale and randomly things like that. They've always, you know, had the short printed cards that you would have to pay some serious buck to make. That would be expensive. But here's the thing, like, what I've always found fascinating is people will still buy them. People still buy these cards, so, you know, they got to ridiculous prices because, yeah, we bought them as the players. But to continue on with Konami, you know, I always found it amusing. I can't find the post. I wish I found the post. They made a statement. It's somewhere on the internet, so if you can find it, post it, you know, that'd be fantastic. Where they actually said, because they basically, people complained. They've always complained about the short prints and everything. So they actually made a statement that no one believed, where they went, we'll no longer do short prints. We're never going to do it again. And then immediately, so this might help, you know, if you can find the post. It was the very first Legendary Duelist set. Now this had Jesse's Crystal Beast cards in it, for example, and Crystal Bond was the expensive card. That's how old we're talking, a couple years ago, and it was I believe it had Joey stuff in it, Crystal Beast stuff in it, Toon stuff maybe in it. I can't remember exactly the set, I just know it was predominantly Jesse, because Crystal Bond was the set card that was, we gotta get this card, and it was the first Legendary Duelist. And they did it with, instead, obviously the different colors, like the reds, your blues, your purples, were the chase cards. So they immediately, after they made that statement, just went back on their word and never did anything since. There is a statement somewhere where they were like, we're not doing short prints anymore, and we're, you know, and they immediately did it again. And no one believed them. I remember when the statement came out, people talked about it, people were like, yeah, right, Konami, like, you're gonna actually follow through. And, yeah, it was just immediate, like, they just didn't. Like, so, it's always been a thing. Now, obviously, it's gotten more and more out of hand. And what always sucks is the OCG, while we used to have the multiple rarities back in the day, like you could get a card as a super rare, as an ultra rare, as a secret rare, as a ghost rare, an ultimate rare. We don't have ultimate rares anymore. Like, you know, you know, super shiny cards. We don't get them as a rarity. And, you know, they even had the Egyptian hieroglyphic rarity that we never got. We got obviously we got the quarter century and all that type of stuff. But that's now the new expensive. It's like, we've introduced this new rarity, you know, we've dropped ghost rares, boom, here's your, you know, obviously you had Ghosts of the Past, which they randomly did for Ghost Rays, but that was a failed product because they should have brought all the Ghost Rays back at least, but they never did. But that's a whole other topic. And yeah, like they know what they're doing, because we, from the, you know, as a Western user, you know, and as the TCG, obviously, you know, I've always found it amusing that we can use various languages. You know, as a judge, I've looked into it, that like you can use English, you could use French, you can use German, but you can't use OCG because the Japanese, because the backs are different. So I've always found that hilarious, and there's a reason why I'm bringing this up now, and I'm actually going to show it. So just bear with us. So this is Yu-Gi-Oh! News, their official Yu-Gi-Oh! Page, and it's talking about the value of buying Asian English cards. Now this has come as quite a lot of controversy in its own right. The reason why is because they're English, but you can't use them in the TCG because they have the Asian backing. So it's really dumb that even though you can technically use them, you also technically can't. You know, and this is what I've always found funny. Literally, this was, when was this? The January 13th, so this was 3 days ago. Many question of the value of buying an Asian English card, but consider the stunning ultra rarity. These unique cards aren't available in the TCG, making them a must-have. So they're already promoting, hey, here's a rarity. They're high for value, but consider buying them for a rarity bump. You know. And then here's the thing. If I click on the post, the very first post that they made afterwards. Just a quick note, even if you can't use Asian English cards in the TCG, they are still great for collecting. Remember, not everyone is into Yu-Gi-Oh! For the duels. Many admire the art and the unique cards. Collect what you love. So this is practically in direct response to having super expensive cards. And the bonfire. This was 3 days ago, so this is fresh. This is Yu-Gi-Oh's actual response to this. Who cares? They're basically saying, who cares if they're expensive or not? Buy them anyway. Collect what you love. That's what it says right at the bottom. Collect what you love in capital letters. Literally, I find that it's scummy. It's absolutely scummy. But they're doing it anyway. Now we can have a look at the rarities. Ooh, look at this. Like, basically it's an ultra rare, like, or an ultimate rare even. So this is what I was talking about, how we don't have ultimate rares anymore. So they're bringing them back for Asian English, but you can't use them. And I know they're saying, like, just because even if you can't use Asian English cards in the TCG, they're great for collecting. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, look at the God cards that they brought out as the manga variants. I know they're the manga variants, so some people are like, why? They look fake, to be fair to them, to their credit. They look absolutely rubbish. And some people go, oh, well, it's the manga variant, that's why. You know, but it's still, it's for the pricing that they are, and the Dark Magician card, you know, that was like over $1,000. Who's gonna buy that? Like, seriously, like, I have no idea how much these actually cost. Do they actually have? So they have tcgcorner.com. I've not actually checked this, so let's find out. Let's see what they. Let's see if we can use this. Because this is gonna be hilarious. I'm super curious. It's loading, it's taking forever in a day. But hopefully, here we go. It's slowly coming. I'm so curious how much these cards actually cost. Okay, and this is the thing, like, what the biggest slap in the face was, for me, was seeing from the starter deck the Magician's Souls. It was a common, and you can't use it. It's scummy as anything. Soul Servant is like 52. There we go. Magician Souls, £5 as a common. That's still ridiculously expensive. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, Dark Magician Girl randomly is £4. You can have the Lost Art of Ring of Destruction and Monster Reborn for £1 odd. But yeah, Magician Souls is a common, and it's £5.63. When you look at eBay for Magician Souls or anything else, it's still like 20 odd quid. And this would be a nice cheap budget alternative, and you can't even run it. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's sold out as well. That's what I find hilarious. These are all sold out as well. Like Harpy's Feather Duster, that's a nice budget alternative, sold out. Nice Blue Eyes alternative White Dragon, like that's a stunning rarity, sold out already, like 16 quid. You know, which is still insane. Not as bad as it could be. I'm not actually seeing, this is so far all from the structure deck, I'm not actually seeing anything that has the these new ones, so maybe they're not out yet, who knows. But I know the I think it's this guy, this Prime Heart. He is, I'm pretty sure he's in the 2-player set that's coming out literally soon, like, you know, not too long to wait. But I find it just absolutely, like, just scummy, like, that they expect you to spend a super amount of money on cards, and these ones you can't even use, they're for collecting only. But people love to show off, that's the thing. Like, when you look at Yu-Gi-Oh! Players and you go to YCS's, you want the highest rarities as possible because people will want to show off, and you can't even run them. That's the thing that's hilarious. Like, who's gonna buy this? Who is this directed for if you can't even run them in the TCG? Like, you're excluding your TCG, you know, people from running them instantly. So I find it hilarious, even though they're English. And like, what was Yu-Gi-Oh! Numeron even designed for? Like, literally, you use it as life points, but it also has a card reading scanner on it, so you can read off OCG, like Japanese cards, and read their effects. It will translate it for you. I always find it hilarious. It's the funniest thing. So, anyways, we're gonna go quickly back to me. So we're gonna talk about the other half. So the other half of this problem is the players themselves. Okay, so this is gonna be a hot take. I've always found it interesting that people complain about the pricing, and I get Yugi tubers are doing their job by going, buy these cards before they're sold out, or, you know, this is a good card, this is gonna change the meta. You know, you know, they're doing their jobs, and I respect that. But by hyping cards up, and by going, you need 3 of these, or this is gonna change the whole game, instantly, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card's pricing will go up. A card on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban list, like say Change of Heart, for example, you could have bought cheap as chips, but the second everyone started talking about it and how it was off the ban list, whoop, up goes the price. So you have, and Konami know this. They know that we as players will hype up their own product, meaning they can set the price as much as they want. Now, you know, people complained about like the Soul Burner structure deck and how bad it was. People still bought it. Even as cheap as it was, people go, oh yeah, this is affecting the card market because it's, it's a bad box, and, you know, it's going to affect our store prices, and now we may have to close our stores. But people still bought them. Like, you know, hey, like, if you're gonna, like, and that's the thing, people complain, they talk and complain about Yu-Gi-Oh! Prices, but they don't do anything about it. For example, like, I always buy as cheap as I can on a set. If I have to, it will really depend on the card itself. because does it make it worth, you know, is the price of a card worth it? Like, you know, for example, you know, with bonfires, buying 3 bonfires, what is that equivalent to? A food shop. More than 1 food shop, that's like 3 food shops. That's a month's worth of food shopping if you're doing like, you know, depending on how much you spend on a food shop. Like me and Larry, you know, sometimes, you know, our food shops can vary between 50 to 100 because it's the 2 of us, and it depends like what we're kind of buying, you know, what's essential and what's non-essential necessarily, what's a treat, what's a snack, you know, for example. So that may up or down a value of what we're kind of spending money on. But, you know, to put into context of how much we spend on shopping, now bonfire is worth 100, so that's literally a month's worth of food shopping on 3 cards that are made of cardboard. You know, that could also be a console if you're saving for a car, you know, if something went wrong in your house, you know, and you needed that money, you know, that it's extortionate. And that, in, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh, yes, in terms of its, you know, its own websites and everything, will hype to the moon their cards, but people buy them. That's the thing, people buy them. They still look at it and go, okay, like back when they were $80 or $90 as pre-sale, they were sold out. So people are buying them. Like, you know, and that's the thing, people complain about the prices. People complain about, oh, how expensive everything is, but they still buy it. They still go, oh well, take my money. Like, you know, they do the whole meme where it's like the whole boom boom boom, take the card. Like, people still do that. Like, it's stupid to me. Like, you know, if only one person leaves, like in Mega Capital G's video, if only one person, sure, like, they're leaving YouTube to play Mastodon, or you know, or anything else, like, because they find the TCG too expensive. Like, okay, one person's left, but everyone else has still stayed. It makes no difference. It's like a drop from, you know, you know, that's like a drop from a lake, you know, just like a speck. Like, it's not going to change anything. The biggest change was if loads of people left and went, you know what, we're not doing it. Then Konami would have to sit up and listen. But no, that's not going to happen. It simply won't. And they know it won't. You know, people will still buy these cards at expensive prices because Yu-Gi-Oh has its whales. They will do it. And they know, like, oh well, what's this super expensive card? And by the time it becomes accessible to people, like, you know, make it super cheap, you know, people have clearly moved on to other products, like, you know, or moved on to other cards and other archetypes, you know, or it's on the ban list. Or it's on the ban list. Like, here's the thing, everyone, right, here's the thing, right, Reinforcement of the Army is limited to 1, right? So Bonfire, who does the exact same thing, how long do you think it's going to take until all of a sudden this is limited to 1? And then you've spent all that money on cards that are then going to be super expensive for 1, maybe 2 formats, maybe 3, you know, how many other ban lists? Like, how, like, I'm going to laugh my head off if the first ban list, you know, after this one, obviously we've got the new ban list, so Upstart Goblin is at 3, for example, but how long till the next ban list? What, March, April time, when that comes in, and Bonfire is on the list, limited to 1? Like, I'm gonna laugh my head off, because you all spent crazy amounts of money on a card that has the exact same effect as Reinforcement of the Army. Like, unless it goes the opposite way, and Reinforcement of the Army actually starts to come off the list, like, then that's going to be what makes the ultimate difference. Like, it's a huge risk spending that much money on a card that just could instantly get hit on the ban list. Because it will eventually. It will. It searches a Pyro that's level 4 or lower. Obviously Ash Blossom negates. It's not even that good of a card. But people are like, buy it, you know, quick, get it as quick as you can. I just find it hilarious. Like, it's why most of my content is speed duel content. Because I've got the gems, I don't spend money on gems. You know, and it's a more it's a smaller card pool. Obviously, it's a capture game, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a glorified capture game. It's just in card format, it's in a physical format. But, you know, I just find it hilarious. Obviously, the biggest way you could fix this problem is by going, hey, so obviously you guys wanted Bonfire, right? You know, have it as a super, have it as an ultra, have it as a secret. Have it as multiple rarities that you could easily pull. That obviously makes cards have less value, so Konami's probably not going to do that. But, you know, because that's how they make their money, essentially, with the card game. But, you know, that's the easiest way of fixing it. It's bringing back the classic, hey, we print cards in multiple rarities. And obviously then that way they'll still earn their money by going, well, we could release it as, you know, a super and an ultra, and we'll still make monies off the ultra. Maybe not as much as the super, but I can imagine, like, the supers being half the price. Like, let's say we did it right now with Bonfire. I can imagine, obviously, the ultras are currently 100. Maybe they could slightly drop because there's 2 rarities, but they'll still be, like, let's say 90-80, and then 30-40 would be a super. Like, absolutely insane. And especially depending on, well, you know, they could just short print both the super and the ultra. Like, could you imagine? They make the super, like, I can actually see them doing this. They could make the super the short print and have the ultra stay as it is, and that's how they'd make their money. Like, so I don't know how on earth you'd fix it, because I can already see Konami and how they actually work stuff. You know, I've literally played the game since it's first come out, and you know, you can read them like a book. It's the typical tactics. Like, you know, they haven't changed anything. But people complain about it, but nobody does anything about it. That's the thing. That's always, you know, that's the thing. Like, I think I've pretty much talked about everything I wanted to talk about the situation. It's probably something that people have already talked about. I doubt anyone's, like, said anything necessarily different. But I always just found that also that Twitter post as a direct response just super funny. Super duper funny. Because it's like, hey, look, there's these Asian English cards that you can't even run in the TCG, but buy them anyway! Because you collect what you love. That's a poll statement. I think I'll put that on the title. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. You know, please make sure to comment, like, share, subscribe for more content. Like this one, what do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Tell me your thoughts. What do you think about Yu-Gi-Oh! And its, you know, both the company and players, you know, because it's both. It's not a singular issue. We all do it. So what are we thinking? And yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'm gonna end the video here. Punny on, peeps. Take care, guys. It's good to see you, and we'll see you again in the next one.